Go, James Rapien! Go, James Rapien! Go, James Rapien, you Sports Illustrated beat reporter!
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Who is that? Let me just start. James, good morning. Who in the world was the singer on that deal?
Yeah, who was it? Because they sound like me singing, because I'm the worst singer on the planet. But I might be the second worst singer on the planet now.
That's a Reed Mouse special.
Oh, my God.
Man.
Oh, my
That's
God.
good.
I mean, James, where are you going to get that kind of intro to coming on the program? Right?
Who doesn't want to watch Power Rangers now after the show, right? You know, after you're done, I think I'm going to binge Power Rangers like I'm 7 again.
Hey, more importantly, congratulations. A recent
Thank
addition to the Rapien household. How's it going?
Good. Overall, sleeping is about as well as you can, I think, with a newborn. So no, she's been great. She's healthy. Mom's doing well as well. So yeah, we're certainly excited.
Amen. Greatest gift in the world. No doubt about it. Healthy and happy. Glad everybody's doing all right. And good luck on the sleep. I just hope there's no colic in that future. I remember driving around when I was living in Arizona. I'd get back from broadcasting baseball games. Our daughter was born in July. And I'd get back from games about 11 o'clock at night. Without fail, 1 a.m., she'd start crying. I'd have to load her up in the SUV, and I'd be driving around Arizona, the streets of Phoenix at about from about 1:30 to about 2:30 a, just to calm her down, the vibration in the car, and then put her back to bed. I wish I could do it all over again. It's okay. All right, James. Look, everybody's talking about Lamar Jackson. We thought when he initially got hurt, they were going to be cautious with him, naturally. But the feeling was he was going to be back for the postseason. Does it appear to you that more and more it's looking like that's not going to happen?
It doesn't feel like it. It does. It certainly feels like it's going to be Tyler Huntley on Sunday, and that's really the sense I got going into last week's game. If you're the Ravens, why push Huntley out there if he's not close to 100% when you know you're probably playing the Bengals anyways? Let's see what Walker brings, right? And it was a mixed bag for Walker. But yeah, I think it's going to be Huntley this week. Certainly not Lamar. And could I be wrong? Could he somehow get out there today or tomorrow? I guess so, but it does not feel that way. And by the way, I'm not sure I would, because the Ravens aren't going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying they can't win on Sunday, but it's a very, very small chance that they would win the Super Bowl, even with Lamar Jackson. And he's got a lot of money on the line this offseason. So I think playing it safe for him, taking the fact that they're playing the Bengals out of it, might be, if I was his agent, and I know he represents himself, but if I was his agent, I would probably say, let's just hold off Lamar, because we know what you can do. Don't go out there and make your injury much worse.
Look, I know we're going to talk more about the Bengals, but I have found this Lamar Jackson thing so interesting. Not only things that are said, but more importantly, things that aren't said by John Harbaugh. I got to tell you, James, if I ran the Ravens, I'm franchising the guy next year. It's been 2 years in a row where he has been hurt. His style of play leads to the potential of injury more so than a lot of other quarterbacks in the NFL. He's not a big guy like a Josh Allen or somebody like that. And if he got tagged, he jumps into the top 5 highest paid players in the league at his position, which would mean about a $30, $35, $40 million payroll. There's no way I'm guaranteeing him a ton of money over a long-term deal based on what's happened on the injury front the last 2 years. And that doesn't even bring into account the way some of his teammates might look at this whole thing right now.
Mm-hmm. I think if they lose Sunday, and with or without Lamar, they need to look in the mirror as a franchise and decide if they want to continue to go in this direction. And that doesn't mean you can't win with Lamar, but the way they've done it, they've prioritized tight ends, the running backs, and win with defense. Well, look at the league, and specifically look at the AFC playoff picture, and not just the top seeds, right? Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, but Herbert, Lawrence. I mean, the list goes on. And what do all of those guys do well? Yeah, they might run, but they also throw it all over the field. And a lot of them have high-end weapons. And the guys that don't, you want to get them more weapons to use. This Ravens offense just, it's not that. And so I think Greg Roman is out, their offensive coordinator. But I wonder if Lamar's out. I wonder if they do a complete overhaul and say, all right, we're going to move you. And there are a lot of teams that would like Lamar Jackson as their quarterback. And you kind of do a reset. I'm not sure they'll do that. I would certainly consider it, unless you just say, all right, let's get him some weapons. So, yeah, I think there's a lot on the line. And that's why if you're the Bengals, you want to get off to a quick start, because there's a lot of questions, I think, about this Ravens team, and there could be a lot of changes made when they lose at some point in the postseason. I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be Sunday. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl.
It's a third time these teams have met this year. They've split the first two. You could certainly make a very strong case had the Bengals not gotten cued inside the 5-yard line and done a couple of play calls there that they could have, should have, would have won that first game. They didn't, so end of story. But generally in division games, all over the NFL, when you're seeing teams twice, now a third time, they tend to be very tight games. Are you expecting that, even if it's Hundley or Brown or whomever's at quarterback, are you expecting a tight contest Sunday night?
I think it's going to be a one-score game, and it'll probably feel a lot like at least this is how I think it's going to feel a lot like it did last year against the Raiders, where the Bengals should control it because they're more talented. And I think Joe Burrow seeing this defense for a third time, seeing McDonald's defense, their new defensive coordinator for Baltimore, a third time, that's going to help him a lot. And he kind of saw Don Wink Martindale's defense and really carved it up by the end of last season. Well, the Ravens moved on, and I think you could argue that Joe Burrow got Don Wink Martindale fired, who is now doing pretty well with the Giants. But Martindale didn't adjust much. And so that chess match between this Ravens defense and Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense is certainly interesting. But I give the edge to Burrow because he's seen them twice now. And going into this third match, should be able to find their weaknesses and exploit them a little bit. So, no, I do think it's going to be tight. It's a divisional game. And these divisional games are always weird and unique, and they know each other so well. But I expect, not sure if it's going to happen, my expectation is for the Bengals to control this game because they're at home. They have the better quarterback, regardless of who lines up at quarterback for the Ravens. And they have the better weapons. And the defenses are pretty comparable. The offenses aren't. The Bengals have the edge, but the defenses are pretty comparable. So they should control this game, and we'll see if they can do that.
The inconsistencies, and look, there are a myriad of reasons why. I mean, just turn back the clock to last week. I think everybody who watched that game, once the Bengals got out to the 17-0 lead, there was a very conservative and not showing a lot and all those kinds of things. But one thing that cannot be denied is the inconsistency of the offense as a whole, where the defense has been consistent all year long, especially when teams get inside the red zone. They hold them to field goals rather than touchdowns. Are you concerned about what basically has been since about week 14? They'll play a good half, they play a bad half, or a bad half, then a good half. Are you at all concerned about where this team is offensively, even with all of the big stars and so forth?
Not concerned, but I'm curious to see how they come out now against the Ravens, who are going to be the best defense they face in the AFC playoff bracket. And I've really tried to hammer that home all week long. The Chiefs, their defense is not this Ravens defense. Any of these teams, the Chargers, not this Ravens defense, and that's probably the second best defense they could potentially face. The Bills do not have this Ravens defense, and so they're going to be tested. And so do I expect the Bengals to just go up and down the field? I don't. I think that's something you're going to need, whether it's in Buffalo or in Kansas City if you face those teams later in the postseason. But this one is going to be a little uglier. And from a consistency standpoint, and they did that outside of the one turnover last week. And, well, there was a face mask that should have been called, so it shouldn't have even been a turnover. The consistency I think they need on Sunday, it's not going to be up and down pretty the entire game. Jamar Chase running free for touchdowns. They score 40. I don't think it's going to be that. It's still going to be pretty ugly. I think this game will be in the 20s and teens. and don't turn it over. Be consistent in that way, and end on a kick. If you can end those every possession on a kick, I think you have a really good shot because this Ravens offense, yeah, they're going to have Mark Andrews back. Yeah, they're going to have J.K. Dobbins. They're still not super scary, and you expect, like you said, this Bengals defense to do their job. So that's the consistency I need to see this week. But to your point, if the Bengals are going to go where they need to go and are hoping to go, all of those things, then they're going to need to be more consistent uh, and move the ball up and down the field, like we've seen it during halves in spurts, but not throughout an entire game. So maybe we see that this week. I just think it's going to be tough because that Ravens defense is really tough.
I know you watch a lot of the game film stuff and probably have gone back even in recent fatherhood the last number of days and watched some of the tape. Would you consider Adeniji and Sharping, and maybe it's split between the two, would you consider them to be better in the run game or the pass game?
I think that I would say pass game. Sharping's tough to say. I would say Akeem Adeniji, the drop off between him and Lyle Collins, it's not a huge in the pass game, but you could certainly notice it in the run game. And that's one of those things, especially in a week like this, where you'd love to be able to get the run game going, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to. And this really isn't anything against Sharping, but Kappa was a great run blocker and has been such a huge part of what they've done through the air and on the ground. It's going to be tough to fill those shoes. And so, can you just get competent right guard play from Sharping? I think that's a realistic expectation, and that's what the Bengals expect. And that's great, but that's still not what you're getting from Kappa. You're getting more than that, and he's been their best offensive lineman. So it's a big loss. That right side is certainly not where you were hoping it would be this time of year, because you were hoping it would be Collins and Kappa. And, Kappa goes down last week, and that's as big of a loss as you can have on this offensive line. But I do think Sharping's capable. He's played in some big games, 33 career starts, playoff games. So I do think he's going to be able to hold down the fort, but it's not going to be the same without Kappa out there for sure.
Has there been any, I haven't read it anyway, maybe I missed it. Is there any feeling that Kappa has a chance to come back? Not this week, but should they advance next week against the winner in Buffalo?
Well, put it like this. Trey Hendrickson, I thought, was going to be out till maybe now. And Sam Hubbard, same thing. I thought he was going to miss, more games than he did. And so this ankle, it's weird, right? It's unique because you have all the swelling and everything like that. But I haven't heard from anyone that anything's broken. And so if nothing's broken, then I think that there's at least a chance. Now, some have already ruled him out. That's fine. Okay. But it's a long time. Super Bowl 57 is a long time from now. So could he return for that? Could he return in, I mean, that's 4 weeks. I think there's a shot. So I'm not willing to rule him out yet, but it doesn't seem likely. And it stinks, and it goes back into the all the coin flip stuff and everything like that. I don't think Kappa would have been out there otherwise. So that part of it really, really stinks going into the playoffs, losing a guy like that.
Nothing to be worried about. Higgins was out yesterday, an illness, whatever that is. Not a lot of details, and then Cam Taylor-Britt still nursing a sore groin. Other than that, they look pretty good, and everybody ready to go. All hands on deck.
Yeah, I think so. And Dave Lapham mentioned a hip pointer for T. Higgins earlier in the week. I think he did on Bengals line with Lance McAllister. So we'll see there. The Bengals listed T out with an illness yesterday. So hopefully he could practice today. Hopefully he's healthy. And part of the illness is this time of year, you just don't want the guy around other guys and getting other people sick. So I totally get it from the Bengals perspective. So we'll see there. But yeah, I think he'll still play. And same goes for Cam Taylor-Britt. So they are relatively healthy outside of Kappa. That's the one. But Hendricks and Hubbard, both of those guys are back. And honestly, I think Hubbard's going to be even better this week than he was last week. It was his first game back. It was a weird week. I think he's going to take a step or two forward and look like the guy we saw that was having a career year prior to his injury.
All right, James. Thanks as always for your time, my friend. We really appreciate it. I mean, you got the big big music video intro, so I'm sure your
Loved
day it can't get any better than this.
I love the creativity behind it. It was Power Rangers themed. Sign me up, and then callbacks to some different video bloopers. I loved it, man. So
All right.
thank you, appreciate it.
All right. James, thanks as always for your time. James Rapien, he's on the Bengals beat morning, noon, and night.